Please be advised that this story touches on issues relating to mental health and suicide,
which some listeners may find upsetting.
Hi, we should probably introduce ourselves. I'm Micah.
And I'm Sydney.
And this is a podcast called Conversations with Sydney.
That's me.
The trans community has become a central focus of America's culture wars. So today, we're speaking with two transgender people to better understand their experiences and the challenges they face.
So could you please tell us your name and your pronouns?
Juliette, or Jules for short. A lot of people call me Jules. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I am 23 years old. So usually when I first meet people, especially down here in South Carolina, I usually just say, hey, my name is Jules. And I keep it at that. And I tell them I use they, them pronouns just to gauge where they are. If they get upset about that, I know it's like, okay, be careful. But if they're like, okay, cool, I will be like, hey, just want to let you know I am a trans woman. I use she, her, hers pronouns. And it's usually either really good or really bad.
Juliette is studying to be a high school music teacher in South Carolina and feels she has to hide her true identity when she's in the classroom.
It is awful. When I'm out teaching, I have to pretend to be male. Like, I'm currently at a high school, and I'm scared if I say I'm trans out loud that something could happen. I even went to my therapist like 2 months ago, and I was like, I'm really thinking about detransitioning because it is so hard to be in South Carolina as a trans woman and barely be able to be a woman out in the streets.
We also spoke with Benjamin, a transgender man who grew up in Kentucky and is currently a college student in Ohio.
Could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Benjamin.
And can you tell us your pronouns?
My pronouns are he, him. I'm a transgender male. I present extremely masculinely. I have short hair. I've had top surgery. I definitely look like a man.
Benjamin says he began feeling uncomfortable with the gender he was assigned at birth when he was a teenager.
I never really felt like a woman. I really didn't like dresses. I never really identified with any of the popular feminine things. And I'd always wanted to be something else. And I couldn't ever put my finger on it until I was like 17. I had to go through a lot of work in myself to kind of figure out why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. I told my friends, hey, I want to try new names. Hey, I want to try new pronouns. And I told them, like, use he, him. And people were super cool.
Juliette says she first began questioning her gender identity in middle school.
I kind of always knew, but I would say when I fully started looking into it is probably 7th grade, 8th grade. Because I realized all my friends were girls. I realized I didn't want to do anything that the boys were doing. I felt very uncomfortable in the boys' locker room. I felt very uncomfortable talking to guys. And in 10th grade, one of my friends looked at me and said, hey, by any chance, do you know what trans means? And I was like, I don't. And they were like, it basically means that there's an uncomfortable part of you in your current, how you're born, and you would like to transition to something else, or you would like to present yourself as something else. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly it. Bam. Wow.
Despite this realization, Juliette says she felt a lot of pressure to conform to her family's expectations, so she kept her discovery a secret.
I grew up in a very conservative Christian family. We went to church. We had family dinner every Sunday. Being the firstborn male, I was the one who needed to get good grades. I needed to be the one that was learning to take care of stuff and be the man in the household. But it never clicked. In 8th grade, I kind of tested the waters with my family. I was like, well, I still like girls, but I might like guys, da, da, da. And the first comments I got was, you're just confused. Why are you thinking about this? You obviously like girls. You've always liked girls. You're too young to be thinking about this. I've definitely have family members that don't accept me, and having to hear that sucks, especially when I love them so much, and hearing that their love for me stopped as soon as I came out as being trans is not fun. It makes family reunions really awkward. It makes bringing my significant other to family events awkward. Some of my family doesn't even see him as my significant other still, and we've been together for over 7 years. So it's complicated with my family, for sure.
Not being accepted by her family, Juliette says, sent her into a psychological tailspin.
The first couple of years after 8th grade, I definitely hit a low point, and I nearly did things I know I would have regretted.
May I ask, are we talking about self-injury, self-harm, or suicidal attempts?
Yes, all three. Specifically the suicidal attempts. I'm not proud of it now, but at the same time, like, that seemed to be the only way out then.
If you could give advice to yourself, to little Juliette when she was in 8th grade, and to other people who are in similar situations, what would you say?
I would tell myself, please start loving yourself earlier, because it takes a lot of time to love yourself again. And don't be afraid to use your voice. Be yourself and stop masking all the time, because you've known since you were little.
Coming out as trans was also very difficult for Benjamin.
I went home for December break, and I told my parents, I told my dad's first, because I knew he would take it better. And he was like, I'm not shocked. I told my mom, she did not take it well. And I had been like, well, Mom, I have something to tell you. I'm not a woman. And she was like, what are you? And I said, I feel like I'm a guy. I've kind of always felt that way. And then she started down her own spiral, and it unfortunately affected her mental health quite a lot. And it really hurts when you're a kid and seeing your own parents like really struggle to handle something that you can't change. My mom doesn't understand what being transgender is. She doesn't understand what it means. She doesn't understand why people feel that way. And so she, I think, was afraid that I was going to do like irreversible damage, her words, not mine, on my body. I wanted to take T, and I started T. I wanted to have surgery, and I had surgery. And she was afraid that I was messing up because it wasn't like her experience. Like, she started crying, she was sobbing. Like, it was a very intense, like, emotional reaction to what I said. And I kind of panicked, I'm not gonna lie. I was worried I was gonna get kicked out of my house. I was worried I was gonna get sent to conversion therapy. It was scary. And in my fit of panic, I gave my mom an ultimatum. I was like, you can either learn to accept me, or you can lose your son. And that was really tough. And my mom initially was like, well, I can't do that. And I was like, why can't you do that? And she goes, I don't know how. And she was very upset. She didn't talk to me for a long time. She's gotten to the point now where she uses my correct name, my correct pronouns. But it was a really hard time for her because she felt like she messed up. Because she thought she did something wrong as a mother by having a trans son. And that also infected my mental health quite a lot. I had always kind of struggled with suicidal ideation because I've had a large issue with mental health my entire life. I was considering, like, why am I on this earth? Should I be on this earth? And when you're faced with that question from a really young age, it really makes you wonder, like, am I worth the air I breathe? And I know I am now, but you know, when you're a teenager and your hormones are raging and you're scared and you're afraid your parents are going to kick you out, it's a very real thing you experience.
And as your mom has come around,
Yeah.
has that helped you to feel more stable?
Yeah, absolutely. It really improved when I stopped feeling like I was, walking into a ticking time bomb every time I stepped foot in that house. So when my mom and my family came around, I'd never been closer to my family. We can have real adult conversations about this stuff and about things in the world we'd never talked about before. I think that was the big thing of, like, this is all going to be okay. Because when you have a safe home environment, I feel like you can get through almost anything. But when you're struggling to feel like you have any sort of home, it makes the world feel like pushing up that boulder every single day.
Juliette says that her biggest challenge these days is not feeling comfortable in her own body.
The dysmorphia is so great that it's debilitating. For me, it's that I have very masculine features. I know y'all can't see me, but I have broad eyebrows. I have a mole right under my chin, so it makes me look kind of like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. My hair grows back really quick, especially in the beard area, mustache area, so it's hard to keep that up. My Adam's apple is really large. I think the biggest one is actually my voice. So I, right now, am using a higher palette in my voice to be talking at a higher pitch, sound a little bit more feminine, because my voice naturally sits really, really low. So, like, here's my actual voice, it's all the way down here. So I have to hike it all the way up here just for me to feel somewhat comfortable with my voice, and even this isn't where I would like it to be. The goal for me would be to get, like, facial feminization surgery. I would like to get some Adam's apple shaving, which would help to raise my voice a little bit. Of course, be in a better body, but that takes time and a lot of money.
Are those an option for you?
Unfortunately, no. I can't afford to get any of these surgeries. And being in South Carolina, getting just a doctor or a therapist that's on your side about it and actually sees it as something you need is hard enough as it is.
Benjamin, you've gone through surgery in order to match your body to your gender identity. How do you feel about taking those kinds of steps that seem to a parent to be sort of irrevocable and rather dangerous?
Yeah, my mom was freaking out. For me, I had gender dysphoria with my chest, which is why I had top surgery. I've experienced that for as long as I've had a chest, which is one of the reasons I felt really comfortable getting surgery. It's been an issue my entire life, and I've never felt comfortable. And for the purposes of this podcast, I was a double D. Ain't nobody want double Ds, I'm just saying that. I had back problems with it. Like, it was medically addressed and necessary for me to have surgery. And, getting a breast reduction as it's listed on my insurance, and my insurance did cover it, was honestly a very life-changing surgery for me.
How old were you when you had your top surgery?
I was literally just about to turn 19, exactly 9 days before my birthday.
And did you have your parents' support for that? How did that work out?
It was tricky. My mom was not initially supportive, but my father said, if your doctor agrees and your therapist agrees, you need help with this, then it's something we should take care of. And I told them that it was going to change my life. And they said, what if you regret it later? And I said, if I regret it later, then at least I will know I have helped myself now. Because the very big truth is, it's something I really needed, and I still need, and I don't regret it.
Benjamin, I imagine there may be parents who are listening to this right now whose kids aren't thinking of transitioning, but maybe experimenting with changing their pronouns or trying on a new name. What would you like to say to them?
So I had the same conversation with my mom, too, of just saying, my use of pronouns and you using my pronouns is for essentially my comfort. And, it's respectful. I explained to my mom, if she doesn't call me Ben, she's talking to someone else, really. Ben is who I am. That's my name. Nothing about me has changed other than the way you refer to me. I am the same kid. I am the same student, same son. Everything is the same, except just a different name. Transgender people are not the problem, because we aren't. We are people just trying to live day to day.
Juliette, is there anything else you would like to say to parents of trans kids who might be hearing this piece?
Yeah, parents, this is a big note for y'all. If your kid comes out as trans to you and they say what procedures or what journey they want to take on with it, please don't look them in the face and say you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to mutilate your body, because it makes it that much harder to feel comfortable in your own skin. Be open-minded and research it with them, and be open-minded to those procedures, because some of them are just complimentary and some of them are life-saving.
Will this conversation, if it's out in the world, put you at risk?
You know, my mom has that exact same fear for me, and she reminds me, she's like, Jules, I love you and I want you to be happy, but the world right now is not safe for you, and I simply just don't want to get a call that my baby has been killed. And I'm like, and I've told her, I'm like, I understand that fear and I understand that, but you can't expect change if nobody's gonna stand up for it. So even though I'm terrified to do this and I'm excited to do this, it's one of those moments of I would rather give my time to help people understand that's okay to be trans and risk my safety, even if it's just for a little bit, than for future queer people, trans people, or just future people in general to feel like it's not okay to be themselves. Because I was told that for way too many years of my life, and it's left detrimental marks on me, and I don't want that to happen to future generations. I'm becoming a teacher just so I can make sure that doesn't happen for people. That's all I've got. Thank you all for having me, and thank you for letting me use my voice.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Today, we are speaking with Juliette, who is studying to be a teacher in South Carolina, and Benjamin, who is currently a college student in Ohio.
If you're listening to this and you feel confused by any of this stuff, just find someone you trust and ask them first if it's okay to have that conversation. And if they say it is, try and learn what you can.
And this is Conversations with Sydney.
Hello, that's me.
This program was produced by Common Good Productions
In association with WBGO Studios.
Conversations with Sydney is a part of WBGO's Voices of Wellness, made possible in part by a grant from the Horizon Foundation for New Jersey.
If you are having thoughts of